Being broke isn't cute. Never has been, never will be. Never will be.
On THA After Party Radio, here's Theresa.
Hi everybody, this is Theresa with Being Broke Isn't Cute. I'm the founder. You can find me on Facebook at Being Broke Isn't Cute PFS, or you can contact me via my website at beingbrokeisn'tcute.com. Today, actually I spent some time with Rose Simmons, who's the instructor of Live Your Life Fitness in Plano. And she stated that she tells her clients, and I want to read this, how much do they budget for their health? And that's a good question, and it got me to thinking, how much do you invest in your health each month? Right. And that is something that you do need to budget for. You really do. There are some expenses with keeping your body physically in good health.
Right.
Most of us take on additional expenses when they crop up, when you got to go to the doctor or something like that, you come up with the cash or something like that.
Right.
But how much better would it be if you actually had an account set aside with that money involved? So I thought about some ideas of things that you need to probably budget for. Some of the things are going to come out monthly anyway,
right? But
you still need to pay attention to them because you need to know how much you're spending on them. You need to know where the money is going. I'm always about where is the money going. Mm-hmm. Follow the money. Know where your money's going. The first one and the most obvious one is health insurance.
Right.
Medical, dental, vision. Most people don't really pay all that much attention to it because it comes straight out of your paycheck. Mm-hmm. If you work for a company,
right.
You only start paying a lot of attention to it if you have to write that check every month. But you still need to figure out how much the cost is, what's covered, who is covered, because a lot of that, all that kind of stuff makes a difference as to how much you're going to actually be paying for your health insurance. Also, deductibles and co-payments. Even if you're not a very sickly person, you still have physicals, your preventative care, that kind of stuff. But fortunately, even before the health care, Obamacare and all that stuff came about, we're having a good time up here. It's open house. It's open house. If you hear that, it's open house. We're having a good time. She should have brought me some cookies. She could be out there laughing too. But no, you're sitting at home listening. Thank you. But of course, most preventative care is usually no cost. But you still need to have money set aside for anything else. If there are kind of special tests or there are some things that are not covered. Even when I go in for a physical, I usually get some kind of little statement from the company, from the insurance company saying, hey, this was covered, but only this much. So I end up paying like $30, $40 coming out anyway. So you need to have all that covered too.
Right.
You need to know, and anything that's not preventative care, you need to know what that copay. You need to know what that copay is before you go in, so that you can budget for that.
Right.
Because a lot of companies, like my company, is moving over to what they call a high deductible insurance company, and we're switching over to that in October, and that's the way it's going to be forward. It means that I have to pay until I pay my deductible. They don't pay any of the insurance. They don't pay anything. So I have a deductible to meet, and then once I meet the deductible, they start paying.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you have to have that money set aside, because that deductible is not $20. I'll tell you that much.
No.
But fortunately, preventative care like physicals and well woman exams and that kind of stuff is no cost. They're talking about anything above basically preventative care.
Right.
So if you have a plan like that, you need to have that money set aside, because if something happens, a lot of those deductibles are $1,500, $3,000, even all the way up to $5,000 or $6,000. So you have to come up with that money before the insurance even considers paying.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of places the burden on the individual that's paying.
It does. It really, really does. It puts the burden on the individual, which means you can't, until you meet those deductibles, they're not writing a check.
Ooh.
And you know that up front. So you need to have that money set aside. And a lot of times it's per person. It's not per household. So if it could be $1,500 deductible per person, and for a family of 4, you're looking at $6,000. That could get pretty expensive.
Yes.
So you've got to at least have some of that money set aside, because kids get sick. She owes me $10. If I ever collect this money,
2 to 10.
if I always said
How
10.
many weeks did I miss?
I've always said 10. Maybe that was you and JB. I said 10 from the get-go.
Yeah, she
I'm a
always
finance
said
major. I know what this is worth.
Bargain.
It's $10.
My bad.
$10. Go look at the tapes.
Mike don't put all that on. He cuts that part off.
Okay. Also, medications.
Right.
Name brand versus generic. You might be able to save some money there, but you still got to have that money, especially if it's
Right.
something that you have to have every month, like diabetic medication, heart medication, high blood pressure medication.
Right.
That has to be budgeted in. That's no longer, I'll do it when I need
Right,
it.
right.
That's I have to make sure I have this money every month. You also might want to look at getting into one of these subscription payment plans where you buy 3 months or 6 months at one time. And a lot of times you can save money that way because you're buying in bulk. It's kind of like the Costco of medications. But, you might be able to do that. And you also, here's one. How about check with your doctor and see if maybe you can get off some of the medications, eventually get off some of the medications.
Right.
If you change your diet and start exercising, maybe you could eliminate some of the medications altogether.
Right.
And also start looking into, you have to budget for gym memberships, classes, equipment, clothing,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff. You want to make sure you can afford it because gym memberships get very expensive.
Right.
And a lot of times you can do some classes. You can do some cheaper things if you're going to work out outside the home. You can go to a gym or a rec center or the YMCA.
Right.
The rec center and the YMCA tend to be cheaper. If you're going to work out at home and you're going to buy equipment, instead of going and buying it new, check out pawn shops, especially around March and April, because everybody went and bought all the
Right.
exercise equipment because they're going to get in shape this year.
Yes.
By February, March, they kind of gave up on that, and they seeing this $600 piece of equipment that they bought that they're not using.
Right.
They go pawn it. You could get something basically brand new because somebody bought it new
Right.
and then didn't use it. But check out that, pawn shops, Craigslist, garage sales, and also clothing. You can work out in pretty much anything that's comfortable. But I would take the time to invest in some quality shoes, especially if you're going to be running or walking.
Right.
Don't go cheap on the shoes. Go ahead and buy some quality shoes. That doesn't mean you have to go, the newest Nikes. You can always go buy last year's Nikes. They still work. But get some quality shoes. And the final one is fresh fruits and vegetables. Again, when we're talking about diet, but you get out what you put in.
Right.
So it would be nice if it could be organic, but it doesn't have to be organic. Buy the best food that your money can buy, that you can afford to buy. Some frozen foods or frozen vegetables and things like that can be pretty good. And try a family eat-in night where you cook dinner and you expose your children to fresh fruits and vegetables, because a lot of kids eat bad because they're always eating bad. Nobody's
Right.
really exposed them to broccoli that tastes
Right.
good, or asparagus, or
Right.
salads, or tomatoes and squash and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So when they serve it in school, it's completely foreign to them. They're like, I don't want to eat that
Right.
because it's not loaded with salt, sugar, and fat.
That's the first thing they'll say.
That's exactly what they do. And even if you put it on their plate or on their tray, it'll
Right.
sit there the whole time and won't be touched
Right.
because they're not used to that kind of, they're not used to the taste. So have a family eat-in night. So that is budgeting for or investing in your health. Take a little time, look at what you're doing, make sure you have some money set aside for that, because it is very important. Without your health, wealth, it doesn't mean the same, because you can have a lot of money and be sick and you still won't get to enjoy it. So that's Being Broke Isn't
All right.
Cute. Reach me at beingbrokeisn'tcute.com or Facebook, Being Broke Isn't Cute PFS. Always call me, 469-834-4615.
You have it.
There
My
you go.
name is Theresa. Being broke isn't cute.
Never has been.
And
never will be.
take her advice. And I'll say this at the end of this, and your health comes first.
Exactly.
And I really think an individual ought to invest in his health. He or she ought to invest in having his health, because that's a good investment.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, planning for these things ahead, then
Makes it a lot easier. I know
Yes.
people who put off going to the doctor because they don't have the deductibles,
Yes.
they don't have the money.
Yes.
That if you've got a serious illness, that only makes it that much worse. Because you're not catching it early enough.
You are correct. So there you have it. Miss Theresa, being broke isn't cute.